Okay, I'm going to do some questions and some kind of overview on 7-1 from when I was absent. The big key, or the two big ideas from this lesson are basically a zero exponent and a negative exponent. And hopefully you got from the notes any number or any time anything is raised to the 0th power, that's going to equal 1. So it doesn't matter if it's a constant or if it's a variable phrase. Anytime you see something raised to the 0th power, that's going to be 1. Now you need to be careful, because if you see something like this, using the parentheses, that means this entire thing is being raised to the 0th power, so that entire thing is equal to 1. But if you saw something like this, the only thing that is really affected by the exponent is the thing that's directly attached to it. This coefficient of 5 is not impacted. So the 5 stays put, x to the 0th power is 1, so this expression would equal 5. Okay, so one of the questions that somebody in class asked me to follow up with was number 42 in the text, or 52 in the textbook, and it looks like this. Gives you this, kind of complicated expression. There's a coefficient that is unaffected by any variable, and then, or by any exponent, and then there's two exponent expressions. Okay, then it gives you values for w, x, and v, and when I substituted those in, we have our coefficient of 4 times w was 3 and v was 0, so it's 3 to the 0th power, times x was negative 5 and v was to the 0th power. So, sorry about the announcement.
McKinley Nugent, can you come to the middle school office, please?
So, in this case, it's going to be 4, but then 3 to the 0th power is 1, and negative 5 to the 0th power is 1. So this gives us an overall answer of 4. So hopefully that helps with the 0th power things. Okay, the next thing that this lesson really focused on was the concept of negative integers. A negative exponent, I think like I referred to before, by definition means 1 over the exponent expression turned positive. Okay, and that all ties into the definition with scientific notation and lots of in-depth reasoning on why that's happening. But what I tell kids is that a negative exponent really sends the expression to the opposite location. So in this case, notice that this is in the numerator. That negative exponent turns positive and it gets sent to the basement. Okay. If you have an expression that already has something in the basement that's negative, it turns positive and comes to the opposite. So it basically sends it to the opposite location. So the 5 is untouched, but in this case, that would equal 5x squared. Okay, so that's just by definition. So when we talk about simplifying, I think one of the ones I see here is 2/3 m to the negative first n to the 5th. And this is number 54. The biggest thing you have to understand is this coefficient of 2/3 is unaffected. Okay, so we have the 2/3. Now, this coefficient of 2/3 by nature already has a numerator and a denominator. And this stuff is all considered in the numerator. So when you look at m to the negative first, that's in the numerator, it's a negative exponent, it has to drop to the basement. It has to drop to the other location. N to the 5th is in the numerator, it's already positive, so we're good to go. So this would be 2n to the 5th divided by 3m. Okay. If you look back to number 50, r to the negative 5th divided by s to the negative 1st. This is where everything's going to flip-flop. This negative exponent goes to the basement, this negative exponent comes upstairs. So this is going to become s to the 1st divided by r to the 5th. Okay. The other thing to point out is something like 48. When it's 4x to the negative 6, y to the negative 2nd. A lot of kids automatically want to attach this 4 to the x and make it 4x to the negative 6th power, but that's not the case. In this case, the 4 stays put. It's in the numerator. But x to the 6 has to go to the basement, and y squared goes to the basement. Okay? So hopefully that helps. Looking ahead, I think the other problem somebody asked for was problem 84. And it looks like this. It says, find the value of 2 cubed times 2 to the negative 3rd. So using what we did before, the expression 2 cubed is positive, it's already upstairs, it's good, but 2 to the negative 3rd power has to go to the basement. And now we know that anything divided by itself is 1, so that equals 1. So then it said, analyze what this expression is. And as you hopefully can see the pattern, 3 squared stays here, this is going to go to the basement, and we again get anything divided by itself as 1. So in that case, make a conjecture if any number raised to the nth power times the same number raised to the negative nth power, that's always going to equal this, which equals 1. Okay, so hopefully that helps give you a little bit of more advice on 7-1. I'd like you to not only watch this video, but revisit many of the problems. We will not have another class period work time for 7-1. And you also need to watch the 7-2 video tonight. Thanks.